Okay, welcome. This is the key fob tutorial. It's a great tutorial for starting modeling. And also, after we finish designing the key fob, you can move it to the 3D printer by exporting that STL file that we talked about earlier and bringing into some slicerware like, well, Tinkerine has one that we've used, and there's others. There's Cura, that's a popular free one. So here we go. Let's begin. So this tutorial assumes that you have already, let me bring it across here, you have already worked your way through the getting started tutorials and that you've set yourself up an account and can get into Fusion. So this is on our class webpage and you should be able to do all the things that are covered in here, and then we can move on. Until you can do all these things, you shouldn't move on. You should go back and re-watch these. So, next step, let's move this out of the way, like that, good enough. And next step, we have our blank design space because I went up here and I went File, New Design, or maybe you just open the software. It is untitled. So I suggest highly that you save right out of the gate and start making saves on your project by doing so. So what we're going to do here is we're not just going to pick a name for it, we're also going to pick a location. And your location should be, if you start a new project, you could call it Maker 8, and then you can create folders underneath that project for various things that you're making. So in this case, I'm going to go to, I have an Isfeld folder here somewhere, there it is. And if I go to the Isfeld folder, well, it should go to the top. Hang on. I've had a little problem with this today where I go and I pick the Isfeld folder, which was right there, there, and oh, good. I have a Maker 8 folder that I'm working on. So I'll click on that and double click, I guess. There we go. And it changes my location to Isfeld Maker 8. And remember, this is all in the cloud. You can also download things to your computer if you wish. But right now we're saving everything to the cloud, which means you can get it anywhere that you have a machine that has Fusion on it and you sign in. So I'm going to call this one key fob. There we go. And hit save. Seems reasonable, and it will change up here to key fob, and it will change over here to show me in my browser tree that I'm working on the key fob. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I always do, is I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to pick the top plane. Remember, here's the view cube, and there's the top planes. That will make this one the top plane. When I click on it, the view cube changes to the top, and I'm looking down from above. So now I'm going to make a rectangle. That's a good way to start. Center rectangle is what we're looking for. We'll go right off the origin here and we'll click and pull. And now we get to make our first decision. What size is a key fob? So best to pull out a ruler and start looking at sizes and deciding, but I think I'm going to make mine about, let's see, 2¼ inches long. So I'm going to go this way. I'm going to hit my tab to go between these. I'm going to go 2.25 long. And then my width, my height, if in this case, is going to be about 1 inch. Let's see what that looks like and hit enter. Now to me, I mean, that might be what I want, but right away after I hit enter, I'm looking at it and I'm going, my proportions aren't quite what I want. So I'm going to double click on this inch and I'm going to make it 1.5 inches and edit it that way. Still doesn't look right. So somewhere between 1 inch and 1.25 inches for me, or sorry, 1 inch and 1.5 inches, I'm going to go 1.25 inches. That looks like more the shape I'm looking for. You can do whatever shape you want. So here we go. Next thing, we're going to extrude this. We're going to click on it, and it should turn blue. And then we hit E on the keyboard, and it looks like nothing. But remember, holding down middle mouse button and holding down shift allows me to orbit. And then I will pull this up a bit. How far do I want it to be? How thick do I want it to be? I'm going to try 1/8 of an inch thick to begin with. 0.125. If you don't know that 1/8 is 0.125, just type in 1/8, 1/8, and that's it. Now, you could be working in metric, in which case you'd have to convert all these measurements to metric. So 1/8 is 3 millimeters, and 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters. So you could work that way. If you want to change to metric, you go up here to document settings, if you haven't already found it, and you'll find units. And at any time while you're drawing, you can pick this little part at the end, and you can change it to another unit. So I'm just going to keep it in inches for now, but you could be in millimeters if you want. And when you do that, all of your measurements convert to millimeters. Okay, close that. Okay, so I've got this key fob. For me, I think the key fob should have a border on it. That's what I like. Also we can do this to show how to do things. So I'm going to make another sketch. And now I get to choose. I don't just have these planes to choose from. I can also make a sketch on the surface of something. So I can make a sketch on this surface or this surface. Any one of these surfaces I could pick and make a sketch on. So what I'm going to do is pick this top surface. And now I'm going to invoke something. All of these commands I'm about to use can be accessed via these drop downs, but there's a faster way. So I'm going to go S on my keyboard and bring up something called the shortcut menu. And in here I can search for any command I want as long as I know what it's called. And the command I'm looking for is offset. O-F-F, or there it is, offset. It was smart. The more you type, the narrower this gets. And eventually all you have is one choice, or I guess there's a couple of offset types. The type we are looking for is the one that just looks like lines. This is an offset that you might use in 3D, and right now we're drawing in 2D because we're in the sketch, which is just like a piece of paper. So pick the 2D offset right there. And we're going to go on here and pick the edge, and see how it goes blue? Pick the edge of your piece. And see how I can make a line that is basically the same as the shape I've got, but I can offset it in or out. Well, we're going to move it in, something that looks good by eye. So I'm looking at the numbers there. It's minus in this direction. This would be plus. So looks like about, I don't know, 0.08. I'm going to punch that in. 0.08 looks about right. Oh, I have to put a minus sign in front because it's minus. There we go. And push OK. And you're like, what are you doing this for? I'll show you. Now I'm going to pick this outer portion, which is bounded by the line I just made in the outer side of the object. And I'm going to extrude that up a little bit. Here we go. And I'll look at it from the side. It gives you a preview of what's going on. Now that's pretty high. I don't want to extrude that high. But I'm going to extrude it up a little bit. Maybe even that's too high. 0.1 is a little bit high. I'm going to go 0.08. That's a little less. And we'll push OK. And I'm choosing join over here, which means these two things I'm making will become one. There's other options over here where you could actually create a new body. And we talked about bodies in the basics. So you would end up over here with body 1 and body 2. But when I pick join, I'm just going to add to body 1. So there I have it. So now what's the next step? Well, I'm going to radius my corners. So we call that filleting in this program. So I'm going to pick this fillet tool, and then it asks me over here what I'd like to fillet, basically. And I start picking these outside corners. Like that, and like that, and like that. So I'm rotating, orbiting, and I've picked 4 corners. And you can see I picked 4 edges, and I'm going to give them a slight fillet. Now I could punch in a number if I knew what I wanted, or punch it in there, but I'm actually just going to do this a little bit and just drag that arrow so I can see. That's about what I want. I guess that's a 0.1. Push OK. Now, the next step is to put a circle in this, because we have to put it on a keychain. So I'm going to put a circle that cuts through this. So I'm going to make a sketch on top of this surface, and I'm just going to draw a circle. Maybe I'll do it this way. I'll draw a line. So draw a line and hover up and down this edge, and you'll see something change. Well, first of all, you see there's an X. That means the program has found that edge. And the next thing is, see right here, I've got a triangle. That triangle means I've found middle. When I found middle, I can click and I can pull out. And now I'm going to go to this side and find middle. See, I have another triangle there. Click. So now I have a line down the middle of my piece. I don't really want it to be an object line. I don't want it to be part of the piece. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm either going to invoke the sketch palette. Yours might be collapsed. You can bring it out, and I can change it to a construction line, or the shortcut is X on your keyboard. When you do that, it's dashed. Now it's just a reference line, and we're using it for reference, so we don't want it to be part of our key fob, so that's what it is. So now I'm going to create a circle. Circles are up here, circle diameter. You can also get to them under here, and I can also hit C on my keyboard, and I get a circle. Then I'm going to pick the line. Make sure you get that little box with an X that says I'm snapping to the line, that little blue box, and I'm on the line. So that means my circle will be centered. It'll be stuck or constrained to that line. And now how big? Well, let's make it 3/16 in inches. There we go. Might work. And now the only thing is, I don't want it there. I want it down the middle, but I want it closer to the edge. So now we're going to do something called dimensioning. So hit D on your keyboard. There I have on my mouse something that looks like arrows. I'm going to pick the edge of the key fob, and then I'm going to pick the edge of the circle, and then I'm going to drag up and click one more time. And now it's saying how far away would you like the center of the circle from the edge of your key fob? And I'm thinking it's right now it's 0.4. I'm going to try 0.25, which is a 1/4 inch. Push enter. Now, I've done it, and it might be perfect, but what if it's not? You can always go back in. Oh, see my cursor is currently still dimensioning. It's got that symbol on it. You hit escape on your keyboard and you'll stop dimensioning. And then I can go in here and I can double click any measurement and change it. So I'm going to go 0.1875, and that's 3/16 of an inch. It's changing it, and there we go. Oh no, I was a 1/4 before, wasn't I? And I want to go bigger, so 5/16 is a 1/16 bigger. There we go. Maybe that's what I want. Now, what do I do with all this? I've positioned my circle. It's on the center line. It's distanced in. I'm now going to pick it. I'm going to extrude it all the way through. Like grab this arrow. Oh, there we go. Grab this arrow and pull it down. See how it's showing me it's going to cut now. My extrude is in cut operation. Automatically figures that's what I want to do. Now, you can just pull it down and push OK, but that's sloppy CAD. Because if you ever made another component that you didn't want this hole to go through, this hole might intersect that component and be cut right there. So the better way to do this is to either punch in the distance you want, which I don't even remember how thick this is, or use some of the features. Here we have distance. Click the drop down. If you click to object and you pick the other side of your key fob, then it will cut through all the way to the other side or the other object here. And you just push OK and it's cut through. So now we have a cut. Now what? I'm going to add some text to my key fob. So I'm going to create another sketch on this surface, and I'm going to add some text. Now, if you're saying, could I go and edit the last sketch? Well, we haven't done any sketch editing. Yes, you could, but I'll do that in a second. So I'm going to click text here, and I'm going to click there, and I'm going to make a window for my text, and I'm going to go key fob, and I'm going to push OK. So it's really big, this text. I can go, as you saw, I can edit it. So I'll grab this little window and grab its nodes and position it wider. Oh, I want it to change its angle. Don't forget Control-Z, your friend, if you mess something up. And now if I double click the text, I can edit back in here and I can change the height of the text. It seems a bit big. So let's go 0.25. There. Now it all fits on. Now I could grab the text and probably drag it around. If I grab that middle dot and position that where I want it. Now there's ways to get it to constrain or lock to the center, but that's probably pretty good for now. You can work with that. There's different fonts in there. If I go and double click it again, I can see there's different fonts to choose from. I'm just going boring right now. Okay. So now I'm going to pick it, the text, I'm going to hit E on my keyboard and I'm going to extrude it up a little bit. And I could extrude a distance, or I can just go, I'm going to keep it flush with the other object here. So I'm going to go extrude to the surface of that. There. So those are the same height now. So I use that to object feature. So there's key fob. Okay, this one here seems a little high to me. So I'm going to go back to where I made it. I click on it, and if you look in your timeline down here, notice how it made little hash marks on top of that where there weren't any, like there's none there now. And now when I click it, it says, hey, this is the extrusion, see it's extrude 2, that made that. So I could double click that, and I made it at 0.8, and I think it should be less now. 0.06 would be better. There we go, that's better. And notice this one changed also because we gave it a rule that said it had to be the same height as this. So they both changed automatically. Here's another thing you can do. Here's a fillet again. We already filleted the corners, but let's fillet this circle right there and right there, so it's not a sharp edge. And when we do that, let's give it a small fillet, like 0.05. There we go. We get something like that. Now that's not even small enough. Let's go 0.03. That's starting to look a little better. So you can fillet things. Anyway, so that's making a basic key fob. When you've done playing around, designing your key fob the way you want, put whatever words on it you want, then what you're going to do is you're going to get it to the 3D printer and print it out. So to get to the 3D printer, first of all, save your work here. You always could save, and you should get this thing that comes up. Just push OK. Save your work. and then right click on your project up at the top here and go save as STL. And when you do that, this comes up. Then what you're going to do is you're not going to save to a 3D print utility. Make sure this is unchecked. And then you just push OK. And you'll be saving a file. It's an STL file. There it is. And you put it in a location. And remember, we had it in our documents under our project folder. This is the file that you would import into your slicer software. So in our case, Tinkerine. And then you go print it on the printer. And that is it. That is the key fob. Make a key fob, print a key fob. That's a good start. All for now.